Hey,
Thanks a lot, Larry.
hey, love you, brother. See you later.
The Wade and Carter Show is a paid program.
Really? You're ridiculous.
The Wade and Carter Show is a paid programming, and KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears no responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
There'll be no January 6th commission. Texas trying to suppress voters, all that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show. Morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good. Welcome back.
Thank you. And to you, hope you had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend and took a minute to pause and thank all those that serve to protect our freedoms and allow us to enjoy a long weekend.
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
Wade and Carter Weather brought to you by the great folks at Deerland Feed. I went by there. I think I told you Saturday morning, Rylan and I went down and I bought some stuff called like napalm. I don't know. The bad thing is all my plants died, but the good thing is there's no mosquitoes.
Well, that's good.
No, I bought some stuff that I could put in a pump up sprayer, and I went around and I made a gallon of the stuff, which is because
More than you needed, right?
Yeah, and I went around and sprayed every bush in the cul-de-sac. So I went around.
So you sprayed all the neighbors too?
Yeah.
Nice of you.
I sprayed mine first, and then I thought, well, I've got all this stuff. So I walked next door and sprayed the doctors and walked over. And it was crazy how like a small flowering plant, like a lantana,
Yep.
you spray it and like 1,000 mosquitoes came out from under all the leaves.
What was it called? You don't know?
No, they do. That's the beautiful
You
thing.
don't?
You go to Deerland Feed. It's one of those bottles, looks like a flask.
Yep.
You squeeze it, the stuff comes up.
Yep.
Fantastic. 72 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 84. 100% chance of rain. It's raining right now. And a decent chance this afternoon until about 5 o'clock, 30% up until 5 o'clock. Hopefully the Generals are a go tonight. They've got a home opener. We hope the Victoria Generals can play. My video is playing, Ash. I don't know why you can't find it. My video is on the Wade and Carter page here on Facebook. And I don't know what Ash is doing. I don't know why he suffers from a level of Monday incompetence every Tuesday. It's just uncanny. It's there. Going to a high today of 84? Yeah, of course it's there. I mean, of course it's there. I put it there. It should be on. Let me look. Very annoying, people.
Yeah,
I have to tell you, it's very annoying.
It's there, but I don't see it.
Not like it's the first time I've done this. I go in there and I tap into the internet. I keep looking at all the clothes. I don't see you on here.
No, that's weird.
We're going to go start it again.
Well, let's wait. Let's see. Maybe it'll come up. Nobody said anything. Maybe they're getting it. Maybe it's just not us. Hang on.
But it's not on.
It might be somewhere.
You can't see the remarks.
So
no comments on here.
No, there's no comments, but I don't know what's happening. That's weird. A wet Monday for all of those tuning in on Magic and YouTube. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to the YouTubers. 1,004. I'm sure the Leisterometer is holding steady. 2 folks, 3 folks. Numbers are climbing on YouTube this morning as we get rolling. Not sure what happened for the Facebook feed, but hope you all had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. Nice ceremony and remembrance down at De Leon Plaza yesterday.
Maybe we've lost our entire audience.
Maybe. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Facebook is on. The feed is on. Hopefully you folks are seeing it on Facebook. It's just not showing up on our internet here at the Tower of Power. Yes, I went down on Monday. Of course, Brother Gary Moses did the great job he always does emceeing the event. And notables there. Judge Zeller was there. Mayor Pro Tem Josephine Solis was there. Jeff Balknight was there. Constance Philly Johnson was there. Just
everybody who needed to be there. A lot of people there as well.
Yeah, I would say a couple hundred. Dwayne Crocker was there. Jeff Balknight was there. The police chief, Robert Arredondo, did a great job speaking of his service and what service means to him.
Also a veteran. I did not realize
very nice.
He served in the Army.
I'll tell you what blew my mind is that two gentlemen got up and read the names of veterans who had passed. And honestly, they were reading them about 50 at a time. And then they would take turns.
Just from Victoria County?
Yeah, and it was just in the last year. I mean, I literally got to the point, really, I was like, is this since like 2010? I mean, for real. It was just in the last year.
Wow. Folks
who have passed, who have served. And the list was exhaustive. I mean, I was like, wow, that's a lot of veterans that have passed away. It was very, very formal, sincere, beautiful service. So they put the wreaths out, it was very nice. 21 gun salute.
Bobby Leister, good morning. Marvin Mickers is in. David Glass, Matt O'Shea, Chris Conrad, Diane Tippett, Judge Posey, good morning. Michelle Hawkins.
Good morning, Judge.
Justin Glass, Robin Moore Knipling, good morning, everybody.
David Glass.
Kamala Harris got a little internet feedback over the weekend because I think it was Friday. She tells everybody who follows her on Twitter to enjoy the long weekend.
She has two Twitter accounts. There's one that's just Kamala Harris, and there's one that's Vice President Kamala Harris. And on her official, it's not a U.S. government post, but I mean, on her official vice presidential Twitter deal, she said, enjoy the long weekend. And she had a picture of her laughing. It's big grin, big publicity shot. Look, I'm pretty. White top, blue blazer, pearl necklace, kind of tossing her hair. Enjoy the long weekend. And a lot of people, like virally, took exception to her not pointing out the solemnness of the weekend. And that's something I told Ash on the way in today. I said, I'm glad that we get it, that it's a very serious.
It is. It's a serious weekend. It can be a solemn weekend as well for many. But at the same time, I hope people enjoyed their long weekend and enjoyed the day off. And the reason we have that freedom and the long weekend is because of those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. It seems like she did a little damage control over the weekend.
Yeah, she added a few tweets afterwards that, hey, let's, always remember our military personnel, always remember the families that sacrificed. Somebody probably wrote that for her. To be honest, the entire thing may be managed by a staffer.
Yeah.
And it may have been that the staffer did this. And maybe that Kamala didn't put that picture of herself on Twitter at all.
I'm thinking the only one who probably managed his own Twitter account was President Trump.
Sure. Good morning, Sheriff Louderback. Did you see where, speaking of viral, over the weekend it came out that like in 2005, Dr. Fauci in the Virology Journal, which is his publication, stated that chloroquine isn't effective against a SARS-type, COVID-type virus. Yeah, interesting. All these things kind of come full circle.
Yeah.
That we know now that at least in 2015, China was talking about weaponizing a COVID-type virus. In 2005, Dr. Fauci was talking about a COVID-type virus.
Well, COVID viruses. I mean, the coronavirus is the common cold, right?
Plus some Wuhan,
Plus some others.
a little
but-
Wuhan sauce. Put a little Wuhan sauce with it.
But, and China for years has talked about biological weapons. So, I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And now that we're, heading down a road a year and 3 months later that nobody wanted to go down when President Trump was suggesting that China may have more to do with this than letting on. I'm not ready to. Maybe I'm not quite ready to say China did this on purpose.
I'm
But
pretty close to that.
The entire cover-up and
The more they cover up, the more I think it was intentional. Do you see where, we've talked about how that if there's a mass shooting and the shooter kills himself and there were, 9 total dead, we say there were 8 dead and a good riddance. That's kind of the way we deal with it. I find it interesting that they've decided not to have any type of formal commission into the January 6th, the armed insurrection of our nation's capital, where they confiscated one weapon, where there was one shot fired, and it was
killed a
woman who took the
climbed
gun.
through a window and
it was her gun. Somebody took the gun from her and shot her.
No, it was a security guard that shot her.
Yeah, one gun though, one shot. There you go. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have zealots. You're always going to have nut jobs. The people that are out there beating on the police, which we do, absolutely, us, we don't support that. They were the exception, not the rule. And it just blows my mind that the mainstream media, fed by the Democrats, turned this into a huge attack on democracy orchestrated by Donald Trump. That's what they've said.
Yeah.
Donald Trump orchestrated an armed attack.
Insurrection is
on the people's house.
Yet last week
didn't happen.
They were trying to break into City Hall in Portland. They were trying to
burn
federal buildings, and there was no insurrection.
That's a mostly peaceful protest.
Yeah. Although they finally got around to calling that a riot last week. It's only been a year and a half of them.
Mostly peaceful chop.
But let's be honest. That was Seattle. That's a few hundred miles north.
Still, same thing.
Yeah, pretty
much. Same liberal agenda, same liberal media agenda.
Yeah, same quickly turning into a cesspool of a city, which was what was once a nice city. Adam Dodger says, I guess it's easier to take over a police department than it is a Capitol building.
Speaking of
you wouldn't think so, but here's let's be honest. What the hell would Congress determine or find out if they actually did a January 6th commission? This would be nothing more than a bunch of political grandstanding.
Right.
And if the Capitol Police and every other law enforcement entity that is investigating what happened on January 6th can't get to the bottom of it, I have no faith that Congress could get to the bottom of it.
What happened to that security guard that shot that woman?
I don't think anything at this point.
No.
Amazing how the Democrats will protect this one law enforcement officer, and I'm not saying, but they're quickly to dox any other law enforcement officer who might be even wrongly accused of police brutality. But this one happened to kill a right-leaning, or apparently right-leaning person.
No, that's okay.
That's okay.
We all need to
for the left and the media. But the Republicans are being blamed for using the filibuster, so they couldn't get the 60 votes they needed in the Senate to seat this commission. But again, what was going to come out of that thing, really? A bunch of sound bites for CNN and C-SPAN.
There was a deal the other day. Was it Joe Biden that wanted to put together a something about doling out something based on race. I forgot what it was. Anyway, a superior court, one of the advanced courts, said, well, the only way to stop discrimination based on race is to simply stop discriminating based on race. They were saying, well, we need to give more of this to this group of people because this group of people has more privilege. And they said, the only way not to discriminate based on race is to just quit discriminating based on race. And the court shot down what they wanted to do.
Wow.
Speaking of, real quickly, folks, watch the roads today. It's wet out there.
Yeah, it is.
Get what you want to do done so that you don't have to call Allen's Wrecker Service.
578-6300.
That's the number. If you end up in a ditch, if you end up in a low water crossing, please. More folks drown in cars that way than anything else that happens. Be very, very careful. If you see something, if you can't go around, turn around. Don't go through moving water in these low water crossings. That's enough. 578-6300. The VCS companies, I saw Jim Hartman at the Memorial Day service yesterday, had a nice visit with him, and his family's doing well. We highly recommend, whether you're a first responder and want to get on FirstNet, a dedicated line of service for our first responders, or if you're just an average person like me and Ash, go over there and get you an iPhone 12, get you an iPad, get all the accessories, Samsung units, whatever you want. Get over to the VCS companies for all your communication needs at, right there, in this case, the locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer.
Right there on Kerr Boulevard. If you need furniture for any room in your home, Chesnick Furniture Company is the place to go. 116 West Swan Lynn. Bobby Leon and his family have been providing Victoria furniture for 101 years now. 71 years in that location alone at 116 West Swan Lynn. It's interesting, you go and you look at the pictures. There was really nothing else there.
Right.
Our police station was being built and Chesnick was already there across the street. It's amazing if those walls could talk and all that it's seen and
no doubt,
and been a part of in Victoria's history. But what's interesting, what's old is new again. They've got a real cool looking kind of retro 50s kitchen dinette set, with the chrome
right
around the side. Real cool looking. So if you've got a period home, they've got that, but they've got furniture for every room in your house. Dad needs a new recliner coming up on Father's Day in a couple of weeks. Head over to Chesnick, check them out, 116 West Swan Lynn.
Peter McNally says, guys, don't downplay January 6th. It was a major event in our history. How so, Pete? I'd love for you to give me some details as to how that was really that big a deal. I mean, there was a handful, relatively speaking, of rowdy idiots who should have been put down, who, by the way, for those of you keeping score at home, you can see that Congress denied President Trump's request for additional National Guards people to be brought in prior to all of this. No, we don't need anybody else here. They wanted this. The left wanted to paint the right as these nut job, extremists. By the way, there were no weapons confiscated and only one gunshot from a security guard inside the Capitol. It was not in any way an armed insurrection of people taking over the Capitol. It just didn't happen. And that's why now that the mainstream media has already done all the damage they can do, that's why Congress said, there's no reason to form a committee, a commission here, because if we do, we're just going to, expose the fact that nothing happened. Make it happen today. Brave the weather. Get to Veracruz for lunch. You'll be glad you did. Get ready for more and more info as we move forward on Project Tickle Pink. It's going to be a big event. Bob Constantine still has some tables available.
Does he?
Yes, there are.
There can't be many.
No, there's not a lot. They've been very fortunate. This is going to be a very, very, very nice event.
Club Westerner.
Club Westerner, Spring Creek.
Oh, no, Spring Creek. That's
Spring
right.
Creek
Yes.
events are even more bodies. And you need to reach out and do that. Yeah, Scott Tomko agrees. He says Pelosi let it happen.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, I don't know, Pete. I'm struggling to find I'm struggling to find the historical context of this, because we've had bombings at the Senate. Last summer, there was a 3-day siege basically on the White House where people couldn't get in and out of the White House.
Right.
And that wasn't a historical moment.
No.
I'm struggling to see how January 6th and the idiots that went there, and if
the good people that went there were good people there. There were people from Victoria there that just went for the event. I guarantee you, in terms of lives lost and real property damage, downtown Seattle suffered a lot worse than the nation's capital. A lot worse.
David Glass asked why the guard that shot the young woman is not being tried for murder. She was not armed.
She was breaking into the
probably
United States Capitol.
Probably from what my 2 cents on that is from the video I saw, she was told to stop and not enter. I mean, you did have people breaking into someplace they shouldn't have been that day. Bottom line.
Peter McNutt says it was a planned attack, no doubt about it. I can even go with that. Let's say that there were this dozen idiots from Illinois and this 12 idiots from California, and they all decided that let's go up there and do this. And there were people there that, much like you see Black Lives Matter puts in a few key rabble rousers. I believe that the
one that was arrested last week and had his bank accounts frozen for selling. He's the guy that actually had the footage of the woman getting shot.
Right. But see, I think the extreme right has idiots just like the extreme left. But what really happened? I mean, what really happened? You had a couple broken windows and a couple police that I guess could not defend each other. And I don't know how many died. I think there was some people.
I think the only person that died as a result of the attack was the one woman. Others had health issues and things, right?
Yeah, there were no. I mean, in terms of the 340 million people in this country, the Dems paint it as if 5,000 people loaded with semi-automatic assault type weapons, breached the Capitol and were shooting every security guard.
Yeah,
it just didn't happen.
No, it was like a junta. You would think that this was a planned attempt to take over the government, which it wasn't.
Which was not. I mean, I've seen videos of, honestly, little old ladies holding American flags walking through the Capitol itself, looking around like they're sightseeing, like they were let in.
They probably were. The tour bus probably got stopped there, and they were walked in. I mean, but again, Peter, what would Congress find out that law enforcement already investigating this won't find out?
Nothing.
So why would we waste time on this and money?
Only to emphasize the significance of the attack. That's the only reason you would do is to say, well, we've got to emphasize to the American people how bad this was. But here's the deal. The facts don't bear out that it was that bad. So even the Democrats have said there's no reason to have a commission.
Well, no, the Democrats wanted the Republicans filibuster in the Senate. But regardless,
it ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But what would be the point? To me, it's nothing more than Congress wanting to validate how important they are to this country and to verify their standing and their power and their influence. That's all this is. The commission has nothing to do with actually trying to find out what's going on. If that was the case, you would put more resources into law enforcement to investigate it and find out what happened. But no, that's not what's happening. They're using this as an opportunity to further careers, to grandstand, and to gain more sound bites, and to save CNN, because CNN's viewership is falling so badly.
Like the
they need something to help prop up CNN, and this is their government assistance program for CNN.
They could put the NBA playoffs on CNN, and both the league and the network would both go away. Tell me about the Governor Abbott, upset with state legislators over the Democrats walking out. Rather than they took away what do you want to call it, a quorum. They took away a voting quorum by walking out. Something to do with voting and it's something about legal voting laws.
Yeah, this one's you probably know more about this than I do. To be honest, but because everywhere you try to look for something on this, it's called voter suppression rights, right? That's what the
they're
Texas
saying.
legislature is trying to do, or legislature is trying to do, is suppress voter rights. But all I've seen is voter ID,
Right.
verification of absentee ballots,
Things that make sense
and
to
in
us.
some cases expand hours to early voting.
And apparently, what makes me uncomfortable is this. Nobody is alleging that Texas had widespread voter fraud.
No.
We're not. But some legislators.
Although there was a lady in San Antonio that was arrested, if I'm not mistaken.
For trying for saying, let me fill this out for you, honey. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
But not enough to make a difference. And we all agree that there's always going to be some type of voter fraud and some type of voter issues. So Texas is taking measures to minimize that. And the left is all upset because they're saying it keeps people from being able to vote. And we're saying, well, okay, if it keeps people who aren't American from voting, by the way, we have a huge influx of people right now that have no right to vote. It's just the way it is. It's not anything personal. It's just you can't vote. And the Democrats walked out and removed the voting quorum that I guess would have allowed the Republicans to pass some legislation that would have given the governor a lot of authority over our state's voting. Now, the problems I have with this, really, there's just one problem I have with it, is that Joe Biden, remember when Joe Biden said, oh, Greg Abbott's thinking like a Neanderthal, but of course, Texas is back open and we haven't had anywhere near the problems that other parts of the country have had with COVID. Now, Joe Biden says this is an attack on democracy. And Joe Biden is trying so hard, folks, to get his tentacles into Texas.
Well,
we don't need the feds telling us how to vote.
What's the federal act called that nobody can be against?
There's the For the People Act.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one they want passed because that
John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I mean, if you don't like that, you're a racist. So
if you don't like that one, you're a racist. If you don't like For the People Act, you're anti-American. You might as well be a communist.
Yeah, Callie Fronley points out something accurate. Says Abbott threatened legislators who walked out to receive a cut in pay. There was a Proposition 10, I think it was called, and Abbott said, I'm going to veto that. So there's this guy named Gene Wu. Gene Wu is from, I think, Southeast Houston, maybe Southwest, I don't know, but he's from the Houston area, is a state rep. And he said he couldn't care less about his $600 a month, but how short-sighted and arrogant and mean of the governor to keep his staff from receiving their money. Now, Mr. Wu is one of the guys that walked out. So, hey, Mr. Wu, if you're willing to walk out, you better have a way to pay your people because you refuse to do your job and the governor cuts off your pay. I have no problem with that. Nobody should have a problem with that. No matter who's in office, you've got a job to do.
I'm sure his campaign coffers probably have enough money
to
prop somebody up
right.
For a month or two while they sort this out. It won't even be that long. Let's be honest.
That's exactly right. Now, Peter McNally says that's known as a bad bill in the Texas House. Peter, it amazes me. It does amaze me. And I think it amazes most of our listeners how that it doesn't matter what the issue is. Some people can just always side with the Democrats. We call those people sheep.
I'd like to know how requiring voter ID is problematic.
You got to have it to cash a check. You got to have it to renew your driver's license. You got to have an ID. You've got to have it to renew your license plates on your car. You got to have it for everything. To buy beer, you've got to have a license.
Cigarettes.
Something.
To go and get your utilities turned on. To open a bank account.
So why is it so liberty threatening to say, hey, show me your ID. I'm going to verify that you are Ash Wallachia. I want to verify that you are who you say you are before you cast a vote for that American.
Somebody used to have to vouch for you back in the day on the steps of wherever you were voting to say, yep, that's who that is. Check them off.
Right. Now we long ago, did away with excluding people based on race. We did away with excluding people based on not owning property.
Women.
Yeah.
Couldn't vote.
Which is unbelievable to me. It's craziness. But women couldn't vote.
Richard King says you have to have it to get government aid.
I don't understand why.
Everybody that wants the government to relax our gambling laws and allow for gambling in the state, you would need ID to walk into the casino. You need ID to win a prize at the game rooms.
But then people wonder, so I'll ask you, why is it that the Democrats are so pro just let everybody vote?
As somebody who takes voting very seriously as a right of citizenship and was on the sidelines for half of my existence in this country.
Right.
Even when I had a green card or authorization to work, I could not vote. I had to wait until I was a citizen to exercise that right. And I take it very seriously. And I've voted in every election that I have possibly been able to vote in since. And it absolutely floors me that you have people that don't seem to care about the integrity of who casts votes in our election. That's how simple it boils down to it for me.
That's right. But the Democrats say, well, chances are those people are going to vote Democrat. See, I think they're mistaken. I think a lot of these folks that are coming in here from these other countries are coming here willing to work hard, and you're going to find, and I'm telling you, when our brown brothers decide that, hey, the Democrats are not the way to go because they've been working at the same job for 30 years.
Well, they're fleeing countries where the government has promised to take care of them.
I'm telling you, it's going to backfire on the left. But they're counting on all these immigrants coming in here and voting Democrat. And the reality is they will use them and suppress them and hold them down just like they have the black community all of my life. No way can anybody show me anything that the Democrats have done for the minorities of this country. If you go down here, it says ID to fly, right there. Voter ID is imperative to honest elections. Why be against honesty? I agree. I mean, who are you and why are you in? Scott Tomko, try and collect a lottery win without an ID.
Except for the $2 scratch off,
right? They don't care who's got that.
But yeah, and then HR Mallory says you got people who think we should pay people to vote.
That's just that's dumb. That's just dumb. Why would you pay somebody to go vote? I mean, can you imagine? It'd be like the Democrats saying, I'm going to pay you $100. By the way, we don't ever do birthdays here. It's just against what we do. But somebody did say that today was Bob Constantine's birthday. So yeah, I wonder if Bob,
and I know Terry Murray celebrated one on the weekend.
You think Bob might go drive a limo around?
On his birthday?
On his birthday?
No, I think he gets somebody to drive him.
Somebody drive him? Yeah. Maybe just sit in the back.
There's my mom. Good morning.
Hi, Tina.
Reduction in hours, no drive-in voting, etc. Peter Rinaldi. I don't believe drive-in voting was even a thing prior to COVID.
No, it wasn't, and it doesn't need to be. They need to extend the early voting period. That's all they need to do. Just say, so you've got no excuse. If you want to request a ballot, you request it with an ID. You get one ballot in the mail. Don't mail-in ballots all over the country on our money. If you need one, get it. Like my dad. My dad's homebound. But he wants to vote. Still a very proud American. My mom should be able to, or my dad should be able to request that ballot, have it sent to him, and he should send back a photocopy of his ID, sign that, signatures ought to match, and send in your ballot. I don't care when we start that type of voting. Start it in, May for the July elections. If that's what it takes, so that Americans can vote. But this idea of, just the idea of, do you think you need an ID to vote? Nah, you don't need an ID. Just tell us your name. If that's the case, don't even tell us your name. You're just a person who comes in to vote. I mean, what does it matter?
And to be honest, Peter, I've got no problem with drive-in voting. If you've got ID that can be verified vehicle side, if you're physically unable to walk into a polling place, and that's an accommodation for citizens of this country to be able to vote, I don't have a problem with it. But is that going to be enough to kill the entire bill for me? No.
No.
Because the integrity of our elections is more important to me as a voter and a citizen who takes that right very seriously. And even though I know election fraud is very low, but we should be doing all we can to protect the integrity of our elections.
Correct.
So that we don't have issues like we're seeing play out in Arizona and other places where they're auditing. And the question of our electoral process is now the question. The integrity of our electoral process should never be questioned, and it is. That's more problematic to me than finding the fraud and sniffing out the lady who collects 20 ballots from the old folks' home,
right?
Because she wants to stuff a ballot for her favorite candidate, whichever party it is. But if we lose faith in our electoral system and our election system, you're going to see a lot worse than what happened on January 6th.
Absolutely. On an up note, Atzenhofer, Atzenhofer.com, Atzenhofer, Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi. Since 1926, Victoria's dealership. Goodbye. The Atzenhofer dealership. Today, for example, not a good day to go by. It's going to be wet. It's going to be raining all week. Go online to Atzenhofer.com.
They've got a great deal on a Camaro. There's my used
car. Is
car
that your used car of the week?
This week,
yeah. It's a nice looking Camaro?
Nice looking Camaro. Under 15.
Wow. Folks, you can get a nice car. Cars nowadays, I mean, they're meant to go miles and miles and miles. Reach out.
Yeah.
To the
I was reading on one that a properly maintained engine. I'm not going to get into the model. The engine itself, popular engine in a lot of vehicles, will run 400,000 miles.
I believe that.
I mean, you were lucky if you could massage a vehicle 30 years ago.
Missing fenders and stuff by then.
You were lucky if you could massage a vehicle to 100,000 miles.
Yes. White Trash Services, 550-1826. You need a dumpster. You need a roll-off dumpster for a huge project. Do you need maybe weekly trash service in the 7-county region around here, Lavernia, Lake Tahoe? Reach out to White Trash Services, 550-1826. You call during business hours, you'll get a human being on the phone. Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull and his team help you with analytics, help you understand what's going on.
John Paul, we maybe need to get John Paul on the show tomorrow to talk a little bit about this Amazon sidewalk.
I haven't figured that out. And we also might want to talk to Steve Kidder, the law offices of Steve Kidder. Steve can tell you if is it fair? Is it right? Somebody tapping into your internet? Do you have security issues by making your internet available? If I walk up next to you and you haven't rejected my internet advances, can I get into your business? Can I get into your stuff on your phone? I don't know. We'll talk to JP about that if you need Steve Kidder for anything. A marriage, a dissolution of a marriage, adoption, whatever. Trust, wills, torts, criminal activity, whatever you need, Steve Kidder can give you great, solid legal advice. And then, of course, Complete and the Health Bar right here on Red River.
Health Bar is open now. Complete will open at 8.
Get up and get you some supplements and healthy breakfast. They have wraps and paninis. They have bowls. They also have tremendous smoothies, and you can go see them pretty much all day long. So there you go.
Peter Rinaldi says very little fraud in Texas. I agree, Peter. But here's the interesting thing. Without voter fraud, your party's boy, LBJ, never gets elected in Texas and probably doesn't go on to be president.
Yeah, that's accepted.
I mean, if you want to talk about the ramifications of voter fraud and ballot stuffing, here's a guy who did it to win his election at the local level and then went on to become president.
You don't think he would have been complicit with somebody shooting John F. Kennedy, do you? LBJ? I do. Oh, yeah, I don't think he had a problem at all. Yeah, I don't think he had a problem at all. He hated Bobby Kennedy.
No.
So here's the deal. I don't
Chris Conrad says
want
very little fraud in Texas, so we shouldn't worry about it.
right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Here's the deal. I think we have to take steps now to protect the integrity of our voting so that we don't ever become susceptible to the federal government telling us how to vote. That, to me, that's a states' rights issue. We are a state.
It's a constitutional issue.
Yeah, we don't need the federal government trying to tell us how to handle our elections.
You know, as I kind of think more and more about this Amazon sidewalk, where if you're on the internet and all of a sudden your neighbor gets kicked off and you have similar devices or the ability you have Amazon enabled devices in your home, Alexa, Ring, doorbell, security, whatever, and your neighbor's internet goes out, this Amazon Sidewalk project will allow your neighbor to then tap in and connect to the internet via your internet connection.
I'd be nervous that like my Alexa might pick up my neighbor making whoopee and I'm hearing it all over my house in stereo.
It's a possibility.
Think about that. That could be rough.
But is this now internet socialism? You pay for the internet. Your neighbor doesn't want to pay for internet, but you now have to give your internet to your neighbor.
Right.
Right? Against your will. You can opt out. You've got apparently until June 8th to opt out of this program. And from what I've read after that, your SOL ain't going to happen.
Very interesting. Does anybody have any information on that rolling outage?
No,
Our power, your power going out?
No.
Our power went out. You think that's an issue? It did kind of. It went out and it'd be off for like 10 minutes. It'd come back on. It'd be off for like 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Come back on.
Is this still fallout from the February freeze, or is this?
No, it can't be, right? Maybe they were testing something.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to know more. Christina Wise asks, where do you opt out? I think you can opt out on Amazon somewhere. I don't know. They've supposedly published a white paper detailing all the technical underpinnings and service terms and all that. Nobody who's into that stuff has come up with a reason to be concerned as of yet.
Right.
But, nobody was concerned that Target was collecting and saving credit card numbers either, right?
Exactly. T-Line says ours went out at least 3 times.
So,
do you know that when I go to like an academy or something, or really just about anywhere nowadays, they say, would you like for us to email you the receipt? Man, folks, just tell them no. Because if you say yes, they will email you 4 times a day.
Well, that's why you need a junk email for all that stuff to go to.
Yep.
Yeah. So
now they say we're going to have major outages
during the summer due to the heat. We've never had outages in this state. What's really going on here?
It makes you wonder.
Might be the time to call Wind Services.
Could be a time to call Wind Services. If you need a backup generator, when it goes out, the Wind generator kicks on seamlessly.
Generac, Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, American made, American backed, yep. American ingenuity.
On and on. Motto Mortgage, Terry Murray will help you, 541-5454. She can help you refinance, pull the money out of your existing equity to buy the generator you need from Wind.
Call her up, wish her happy birthday, talk mortgages.
There you go. Super nice, 541-5454. Motto Mortgage, been around a long time. Terry's a Victoria native and a Victoria High graduate. She can help you with all of your mortgage needs. Just whether you need solar panels, they won't work today.
Well, they would store the energy.
Right? Battery backups for all types of generators.
Maybe with all these waves of rain, the rain bands, maybe tidal energy might be working today.
And USA Concrete Coatings, Charlie Garcia and his team will come out typically in one day, deeply clean, seal the cracks, and then put a tough polyurethane coating on your garage floor.
How tough is it?
It's like 4 times tougher than epoxy, which used to be the rage, that navy battleship gray smudge that you would smear all over your garage by yourself. Don't do that.
I just had a Match Game 77
Right?
flashback. How tough is it?
It's so tough. They will tie that. You can make boots out of it. They will tape off, and it's a very professional installation. You'll be just blown away.
Careful. Brent did not just tell people to paint their feet with concrete, USA
Right.
concrete coating products.
No, you'll be glad that you
Somebody
used it.
out there will take it to that extreme as they took, President Trump had told people to inject themselves with chlorine.
Exactly. As if he did. That was
Yeah.
the dumbest thing ever.
And don't forget the Great Barn.
Oh, 920-6803. Cheryl, and
Small
Her
events,
team, if she
large
needs it.
events.
she'll come out and help you
Yeah.
make your event a success.
Yeah, she did a nice job at Dana Moore Della Garza daughter's Mackenzie's graduation event this weekend.
Awesome.
And so from something like that to any event in your life, she can
Yeah.
help celebrate and make it look good. So,
She's got quite now a portfolio. She was building a great name for herself with some small events, and now they get bigger and bigger and more frequent.
congrats to all the high school graduates in the area. I think it wasn't graduation this weekend.
It was.
So congrats to everybody that got to walk the stage. They're still, believe it or not, everybody I know in Canada not walking.
You know, the high school kids are so grown up now. I had gone out after I went to Deerland Feed. Rylan and I came back by Las Palmas only because Veracruz is closed on the weekend. It doesn't serve breakfast. And Rylan and I were in there eating some breakfast. These 3 high school girls came in, clearly seniors, they were just out there, like, oh yeah, it's our day, we're partying. And I'm sitting there with Rylan, and I'm loud, but in that place I stay pretty quiet because you can just hear everything.
You're loud?
Yeah. So this girl just says, I tell you what, she goes, when I walk across that stage, she goes, I'm planting one right on him. And I just kind of listened a little bit. And she said, oh man, that Mike Mercer is hot. He is steamy. Little senior in high school was going to give Mercer a big kiss. I thought that was funny. So I called him, of course, being me. Called him. Hey, Mike, just give you a heads up. I'm going to take some chapstick to that graduation.
You got the intel?
I said, these girls, I'm going to give you the 411. These girls are going to try to give you a little smacky mouth. He said, I'll talk to you later. He just laughed. He said, So when I got ready to leave Las Palmas, I said, hey, I called Mercer. He'll be ready for you. She just turned about as beet red as you could get. And I was like, come on, kid.
That's funny.
It was funny. Astros, 11-1 yesterday, at least, or 12. I tell you,
stop watching after a while?
I was out poolside with my buddy Cody Chandler. We had the whole fam over there. T-Lat was baking.
11-2.
11-2. Yeah, a guy hit a home run late. It was like meaningless. They were ahead so far they put Paredes on the bump. And what was nice is Jose Urquidy really pitched well. I think he went like 8 and really pitched well. And the Astros bats are alive. You know the guy that – remember a couple of years ago – I'm going to test your mental makeup here. Before we had Brantley, what was the guy's name that we had that could play pretty much anywhere?
Marwin Gonzalez.
Marwin Gonzalez could pretty much play anywhere. He was like that guy that you had to have. Yeah, Urquidy went 6. But 6 of like
3-hit ball.
3-hit ball.
Yeah.
Well, that guy now is Aledmus Diaz. And so yesterday he played first. He's played I think he can play second base every day for most teams. I've seen him play short. I've seen him play left. And Aledmus Diaz is a valuable member of that team. And the Astros really, really look good.
Well, and here's partly why. Correa's hitting. He's got his average up to 280. He was hitting, I think, 10 days ago we were lamenting because he was struggling at 260.
Yeah.
Bregman's right around 300. Altuve's hitting over 300.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Patrick Strauss points out the truth. They need bullpen help. Should have swept the Padres, but lost 2 of 3 late.
Yeah.
Greinke had a great game the other day, and they barely hung on to beat the Padres.
But what was interesting? You were watching the ESPN feed. I was watching hockey yesterday. I didn't watch the Astros game.
I saw about some cheating in hockey. There was some violence, people fighting.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves for Vegas got 2 games for cross-checking a guy into the crossbar. But
he was a big man. It looked like a tight end hitting somebody.
Yeah, well, his dad wasn't pretty good. His dad was Willard Reeves, played running back for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Very good NFL player. Had a little bit of a –
Was it Christopher Reeves?
No, spent a little bit of time with the Washington football team as well.
Is that right?
Back before they were the Washington football team. What was I going to say?
You were telling me about hockey. Oh, you were saying I was watching ESPN.
You were watching ESPN.
Yeah, very
interesting because you called me yesterday and we were talking about this, and I hadn't seen it. But why is Alex Cora get a free pass and exonerated from the cheating scandal that plagued the Astros, but nobody else involved with the Astros gets that pass?
So, see, Alex Cora was here at the Astros, orchestrated the drumbeat, if you will, the drumbeat scandal that got the Astros in trouble. And he goes, and whatever he did, I think he had like an undisclosed settlement with Major League Baseball. I don't know, but he's the manager of the Boston Red Sox.
And don't forget, after the Astros cheated, Boston then cheated.
Yes, he went there and got in trouble as well. He's the guy.
But he didn't get in trouble.
But he didn't. And ESPN yesterday, not only did they like completely exonerate him on the air, they talked about how that he's such a baseball guy from a baseball family, and he just owned this. He just owned this all along. He's just such a fine gentleman. And he told his team,
owned it. He snuck out of Houston and went to Boston before anything came to light.
Now Ash. And he said, y'all go take care of baseball, and I'll take care of my mess that I created. What a great guy to tell his team that. And I thought this same media literally refers to the Astros as the cheaters from Houston. And Alex Cora was the guy that said, here's what you do. You watch the video and you bang on the trash can. If it's going to be a fastball, you hit the trash can twice. I mean, I just thought that it wasn't even so much hypocrisy. It's so blatant that you're like, you're kidding me, right? But I did tell Ash what I think that is that Boston is Major League Baseball royalty. They are a blue blood. It's like comparing Boston to the Astros is like comparing the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Steelers and Cowboys might be kind of almost scandal-proof. New England apparently was scandal-proof. You know, if Tom Brady deflated a football in Tampa Bay, you can bet that he'd be kicked out of the league. It's just the way it is. And the Astros are not Major League Baseball royalty. They're upstarts. They're the newcomers to the, quality.
Yeah, the newcomers that have only been around since the 60s.
Yeah, but they're the newcomers to being relevant. It's like people are like, oh, it's a weird year. The Astros went to the World Series. Well, I remember when the Braves were exactly like the Astros, where people are like, wow, they're really good, but it's not. It must be an off year for everybody else. The Cardinals must be down.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, because the media loved the Astros in 2005.
Oh, yeah. Well,
when Biggio and Bagwell were leading the team,
Lance Berkman, right? Was he there then?
Yeah, was he still there? Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, by the way, Lance Berkman, congratulations. He's now the head baseball coach at Houston Baptist University. He had wanted to be the coach, very openly wanted to be the coach at Rice, his alma mater, and there seemed to be some brouhaha that he didn't have enough college experience. I mean, here's a guy that to me is very quite arguably a Hall of Famer at the major league level, but I guess he doesn't necessarily have enough training in NCAA regulations and in recruiting, So, although what kid's not going to take a call from Lance Berkman? But at any rate, he is now the head coach at HBU, which is good.
He was the assistant coach at St. Thomas this past year, so good for him. Hockey Minute, the Toronto Maple Leafs complete their epic collapse again in a Stanley Cup playoff series.
You seem to enjoy that.
They were leading 3-1.
No way. Lose 4-3?
Lose 4-3, 2 games in overtime, and then yesterday came out absolutely flat.
That
My
could
brother,
cost a coach.
my brother, who's a Leafs fan, said, "How does a team who's now lost 2 games, so the series is evened up, come out and play that flat when their season's on the line?" And I said, the Leafs. That's all I can answer. That's the only way I can answer that. But they lose it to Montreal. 3-1 was the final score. And I'm not a Montreal fan, but
There you go.
that's now it's Montreal and Winnipeg in the next round, second round.
Jets. Jets.
So for Chris Conrad, yeah, I'll cheer
There
for
you
the
go.
Jets in this one. The
Jeremy
rest of it ready.
Pickett.
The rest of it ready.
JP says, good morning from Louisiana. Good morning, sir. A lot of traction, folks. I didn't know this was even possible. I'm going to call Lenny today and see if I can work this out for you guys. There was major feedback of excitement at the idea of a flight from Victoria to Lake Charles, Louisiana. Can you imagine how many of you would on a Saturday morning say, or even if you want to book a room, whatever, just whatever, if you could leave in the morning, come back at night. So, you leave on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're there at 9 o'clock in the morning. You got all day to gamble. You could get on a 9 o'clock flight and get back here at 10, or you could spend the night and have 2 full days in Lake Charles. What if that flight was $200? Would you go?
Jeremy Pena says he's down.
Can you imagine? I think that'd be awesome.
Johnny Houghton checking in says Carey Price. That's how the Leafs lose. Carey Price, the goalie for the Canadiens, was standing on his head is the hockey term.
That means good?
Yeah.
You stand on your head,
Yeah.
you're good?
You're good.
There you go.
Jeremy Pena says he's down.
I have to think that you could. Can you imagine if you just had then the airport, you could have like a little lounge out there, a little pregame. People could have a cocktail or two, then get on the plane. Woo! We're all going to Lake Charles. It could work.
Did you see where Southwest is not serving alcohol right now on flights?
Did they have a reason?
Yeah, some lady beat up a flight attendant from Sacramento to San Diego.
Wow,
Not
what's
the
that,
longest
30
flight,
minute flight?
maybe an hour. It's not a long flight, maybe 2 at the most. But I have a hard time believing that this woman got trashed well on the plane.
Yeah, she had to be
She
drunk
was
at the
trashed when
airport.
she got on the plane. Let's be honest. Because by the time you get up and get to cruising altitude, you're 20 minutes into that flight.
Yeah.
Unless they were
one
serving her
drink.
doubles or triples in that at most 2-hour flight. I don't even think it's that long.
Mm-mm.
From Sacramento, middle of California, to the southern part of California.
No, it's not 2 hours.
So, but you got to wonder. And Southwest says, "Well, we'll revisit it, but right now we're not going to serve alcohol." So
Wow.
This one lady ruined it for everybody. But you know darn well she was trashed when she got on that plane.
Absolutely.
But yeah, apparently knocked a couple teeth out of this. Gave her a pretty good haymaker, from what I understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard to swing from way back in Mississippi on an airplane.
So, now she faces all sorts of criminal charges, and rightly so.
Absolutely. Folks, we're going to hit it. It's a Tuesday. Stay tuned for the Hall of Famer. Ralph Salazar will be in here.